So I think we have to talk about how we're going to handle Donald Trump on this channel going forward. Obviously, we are a UK news and politics channel, but as I said before, Trump is going to do stuff that is going to affect here. Um, and Donald Trump is going to do stuff that I kind of like to talk about sometimes, on this channel. So I will obviously still continue to cover. That will be sort of the main thrust and focus of this channel. But look, sometimes Donald Trump is going to do stuff or say stuff that, especially when I've said before, I want to cover sort of more, talk about his sort of foreign policy. And certainly foreign policy perspective from like the UK perspective. Yeah, that's going to sort of affect a lot of stuff, especially when you look at the fact that the Chagos Islands deal completely fallen through. Trump has come in and he's immediately vetoed that. And I think there's a lot of suspicion around of this fact that it was Nigel Farage and his team that pushed for Trump to end that deal. I think that's ultimately why that sort of fell through. However, you are going to see stuff that happens like this. And this is still the big question. Is Trump actually serious about going through with his threats on Denmark? Because Denmark has been very, very firm. It was firm in the last Trump presidency. We ain't going to sell. Then you've got the threat of Donald Trump saying, well, if you're not going to sell, I'll just take it. In a very sort of, mafiosa style, nice island you've got there, Denmark. Shame if, I was just to accidentally acquire it. How serious is he about going through those threats? And you have to sort of take these threats seriously because Donald Trump is in a position where he's the most powerful man on the planet. And someone like this, with this type of personality, previously, when he's not the president, it's so easy to ignore because for the past 4 years, Donald Trump said a lot of crazy stuff. And I just didn't even bother covering it because he wasn't president. However, now he is president again. And all of a sudden, once again, unfortunately, what he says and what comes out of his mouth kind of matters, which is the big, big problem. So we're going to cover this because this came out very recently. Is that Donald Trump has apparently had a very, very tense phone call with Denmark's prime minister over the issue of Greenland. And this has got a lot of people very worried. A lot of people very, very worried indeed about now what's going to happen. But, as we said before, is he actually serious? Is this just part of some, infamous Donald Trump negotiation strategy where you state the most extreme opinion? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe, someone will be able to, maybe Marco Rubio will be able to jangle some keys and he'll get distracted by it. However, now with, of course, Pete Hegseth being, confirmed at this point as the new defense secretary, you've now got someone who Trump can turn around to and just go invade Greenland, and Pete Hegseth will just go, yes, sir. He won't turn around and go, sir, you're asking me to invade a US ally. There won't be that that hesitation, which is the big worrying part, especially this time around. And it really does feel like this Trump administration has pretty much gone, full foot on the gas right from the get-go. So we're going to have a look into this conversation and what happened, because I do think it is kind of important that we do talk about some of this stuff, especially when it refers to sort of, foreign policy on this. So, as always, before we do go jumping into this, please remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. There's the Patreon page. There's the Buy Me Coffee link where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button. And, of course, as always, there's the like and subscribe button as well if you are new, or just hit the like button and the share button as well. That all helps out. So let's crack on then into this. This being covered in the Financial Times. Just being the news for this being dropped last night. Donald Trump in fiery call with Denmark's prime minister over Greenland. So Donald Trump has now insisted that he was serious in his determination to take over Greenland in an hour fiery telephone call with Denmark's prime minister, according now to senior European officials. The US president spoke with Mette Frederiksen the Danish Prime Minister for over 45 minutes last week. The White House has not commented on the call, but Frederiksen said that she emphasized that the vast Arctic island, an autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark, was not for sale, while noting America's big interest in it. And it's, again, worrying. How serious is he on this? How serious is he? If Denmark still holds the position that this is not for sale, then what does Trump do? Does he seek a military option to take, Greenland? We should be very, very worried about this. Very worried about this indeed. So 5 current and, of course, former senior European officials, now briefed on this call, have said that the conversation had gone very badly. They added that Trump had been aggressive and confrontational following the Danish Prime Minister's comments that the island was not for sale, despite her offer for more cooperation on military bases and mineral exploitation. So right there is what we've said before about Trump's negotiating tactic. You offer the most extreme position, but in reality, the position you want is here. So when you are, shall we say, talked down from your position to this position, it's a win for you because that position was not your real position all the time. It was this. So the fact that, Denmark has said, well, okay, you'll have more, more cooperation, more military bases. We'll even give you some mineral exploration stuff. But it seems Trump was not even, put off by that or, gone for that. It really does seem that is his position, that he really does want Denmark. So we now have to say, we now have to wonder, is he actually serious about wanting to take Denmark? Well, not Denmark, well, Greenland in this case. It was absolutely horrendous, said one of the people. Another said he was very firm. It was a very cold shower. Before, it was hard to obviously take seriously, but I do think it is serious and even potentially very dangerous. Again, he's right. The details of this call are now likely to deepen European concerns that Trump's return to power will now strain transatlantic ties even more than ever, and the US president now hopes to heap pressure on allies to give up the territory. Trump has also said that in his second term, he mused about potentially taking over Greenland, the Panama Canal, and even Canada. Which, bear in mind, Panama has to worry about that. And Canada, if you were thought, oh yeah, you're just going to become, the 51st state, oh, this is just Trump joking. Well, if it turns out to be serious about Greenland and the Panama Canal, is he serious about you as well? There's suddenly some very, very worrying implications about American expansionism going on into, obviously, we said, Greenland, Panama Canal, even into Canada. So many European officials, it continues, have of course hoped that these comments about trying to seek control of Greenland for national security reasons were just a negotiation ploy to gain more influence over the NATO territory. Again, what we said about the beginning, that being, Trump's, negotiation position, like you take the extreme position, but your actual position, what you want is here. So, of course, Russia and China are also now jointly jostling now for a position in the Arctic. But the call with Frederiksen has now crushed such hopes, now deepening now of the foreign policy crisis between NATO allies. The intent was very clear. They want it. And the Danes are now in crisis mode, said one person briefed on the call. Another said the Danes are now utterly freaked out by this. Yeah, I would be as well. And not just the Danes, but if you live in Greenland as well, we talked to we saw not too long ago, of course, a lot of Greenlanders, they want, independence. And I said a couple of weeks ago when I said to that video, even if I was in Greenland and I wanted independence right now, I would not be going for independence because of what Donald Trump wants. Because if you gain independence from Denmark, then all of a sudden you leave a lot of safety, shall we say, being out there by yourself. And bear in mind, at a time when Donald Trump is now advocating for this, and the Danes are, as you said right here, quoted to be in crisis mode and utterly freaked out by this, I will probably not be going for independence while Donald Trump is in the White House. Anyway, another former Danish official said that it was a very tough conversation. He threatened very specific measures against Denmark, such as targeted tariffs. The Danish Prime Minister's office said that it did not recognize the interpretation of the conversation being given now by anonymous sources. So you had a former Danish official say this, that he was threatening targeted measures against Denmark, while the Danish Prime Minister's office said, oh, we don't recognize that interpretation. Meanwhile, of course, you've said, yeah, we were in crisis mode. We're utterly freaked out by this. Yeah, I'm not too surprised. Try and, keep calm, about going on. But I would not be surprised if the Danes are very freaked out by this. I would probably as well, especially if I lived on Greenland. Greenland is, of course, just home to 57,000 people, and it is an entry point now to new shipping routes gradually opening up through the Arctic. It also now boasts abundant but hard-to-access minerals. President Trump has been very clear about the security and safety and security of Greenland is now important to the United States, as China and Russia are now making significant investments throughout the Arctic region, the White House National Security Council's person said. The president is also now committed not only protecting US interests in the Arctic, but he's also now working with Greenland to ensure mutual prosperity for both nations. Yeah, I'm sure mutual prosperity. Yeah, like I say, Greenland and what Greenland has is a very, very sort of, everything that is they have in Greenland would be balked at for some of their policies. This is Greenland is very quite democratic socialist when it comes to it. They have universal health care, a ton of stuff in America that would be socialism. Yeah, good luck integrating Greenland. Good luck on that. So Trump, of course, threatened back in January to impose duties on Denmark if it opposed him on Greenland. He also declined to rule out using military force to take control of the island. Again, if you're Denmark and you have that comment earlier that Denmark is absolutely, freaked out by this, yes, you would, because you don't know now what is a crazy Donald Trump comment that is you don't have to take seriously. But now he's in the White House. He's in that position. He's got people like Pete Hegseth as his defense secretary, who, again, if asked, are just going to go, sure. That's worrying. That is incredibly worrying on that. Anyway, this was obviously the quote. People don't even really know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security, Trump said at a press conference days before taking office. I am, of course, talking about protecting the free world, he added. You have Chinese ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. And of course, as you can see here, all these mineral deposits around Greenland. It is huge on this. But there was already military bases here that protects Greenland. It's a NATO ally. It's insane that he's saying this, and you have to take this seriously because you don't know whether he's actually serious about this. Because if this is serious and he makes a move, what's to stop Denmark going Article 5? An attack on one is attack on all, even if it's by another ally within the group. That actually gets very, very worrying on that, because at that moment, you could potentially end up breaking the entire NATO alliance on that. That's worrying. That is incredibly worrying on that. Mute Egrid, I think that's how you say it. Probably not. Greenland's prime minister has now repeatedly stressed that the island inhabitants want independence rather than either US or Danish citizenship. But he has welcomed US business interests now in mining and tourism. Again, yeah, you might want independence, but if you do go independent, um, the US doesn't even have to recognize you as an independent country. You are suddenly out of a lot of treaties. You are suddenly not under the protection of NATO. Um, you may not want, of course, like Danish citizenship. But I'll tell you what, at the moment, that gives you a heck of a lot of protections that you have if you suddenly go, if you go, if you lose, if you go independent. So you may want independence, but now with Donald Trump in the White House, yeah. Frederiksen has also now held a meeting of chief executives with large Danish companies, including Novo Nordisk's and Carlsberg last week, to discuss Trump's threats, including potential tariff targets aimed against her country. On that very same day, Trump call, she told Denmark's TV2 that there is no doubt that there is now a great interest in and around Greenland. Based on the conversation I've had today, there is no reason to believe that it should be less than what we have heard now in the public debate. So, yeah, that is that is incredibly worrying on that front. That is insane. Um, that you have this discussion, because this is like Donald Trump is talking about annexing an ally, a NATO ally. That is incredibly worrying for so many reasons. And we don't know if Trump is actually serious about this, because I said at the beginning before, Trump has, this is my extreme negotiating position, but what I really want is here. So when you are talked down from that extreme position to here, you know, you can take it as a win because you talked them down from that extreme position, but Donald Trump can take it as a win even more because he talked you into giving him more concessions because he had such an extreme position to begin with. But is that even the case where he keeps on repeating these types of things? If you refuse my offer to buy the island, well, I'll take it militarily. And then what happens to the people of Greenland? So it's very, very worrying indeed for a whole range of reasons on that regard. So as always, um, wild, wild that this is being talked about by Donald Trump, and the fact that you have Denmark so worried and to quote that, freaked out by this. Yeah, I would be. If I was in the Denmark government, I'd be freaked out by this as well. So as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think Donald Trump is actually serious about this, or do you think this is all part of his negotiating position? Again, I'd love to hear what you think. Are you from Greenland? What do you think about this? I'd love to speak to someone from Greenland on this and have them on the channel. It'd be quite interesting, to be honest, to get their take on this. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.